In the last lesson, we saw how we can set up a basic web page and then we could reuse this. So what we can do is we can either copy this code over to another page, or we can just simply take this and duplicate the code so that we're using it and repurposing the same structure across multiple pages. And this is where planning is really important. So always plan out your website first, and then when you are creating multiple pages, also try to link to the style sheet and as well as any JavaScript that you might have, so that this way you do get the flexibility to update your style sheet as needed. So in order to link to a style sheet, I'm going to go ahead and create a brand new file, and this will just be our style sheet file. So I'm going to just call this, create a brand new page and save as, and call it style CSS. And I'm going to keep this in the same directory. And then I'm also going to create another new file, and I'm going to call this one app.js, and then this one can serve as any JavaScript that I can add into the pages. And the reason that I am creating these, that this gives me an option that I can link out to them as I'm creating the template. So as I'm planning what my page is going to look like, I need to have the files to link out to them, and then that way I can update the CSS and I don't have to worry about updating any of the styling because I've already got the design ready for my web page. So let's go ahead and use the link tag, and we're going to be linking using a link to a style sheet and then specifying the href to the style sheet, and that's just style CSS. So go ahead and save that, and that's going to establish the link to the style. And you can also create some basic styling if you want, in order just to make sure that we check to make sure everything is working. So let's set the background color and set it to a gray color just to make sure that that's working. And then also we're going to link to the script tag. So the script and the source for the script is going to be the app.js file, and linking out to the script file. So that way we're ready to reproduce this page and make sure that we also have all of our navigation in place. And for the app.js, so first let's refresh and make sure the styling is working. So we do get the styling working. And then for the JavaScript, I'm just going to do a simple alert and just make sure that that alert is working as well. And so that way we know that the JavaScript file is hooked up properly, the style sheet file is hooked up properly, and we're ready to use this as a template. So I did want to mention before we go any further that in order to, if you're drawing a more complex website, it's usually good to draw it out and plan out what you want your website to look like before you create the template for it, and make sure that you've got all of the appropriate elements, and then plan out how you're going to do the styling for that as well. So I'm over at draw.io, and this is an application that I commonly will use. It's available within the Google account, so just available at draw.io, and it's just asking me here for permissions that it can save it to my Google Drive. So if I create any new diagrams, I can set it up, and this has some really good wireframes for websites. It's got all of the assets and so on. So it is one of the tools that I often suggest to anyone trying to develop a website, that this is a really great place, a really great starting point to develop wireframes for your websites. They also have the Bootstrap wireframes, which is really useful, once again, to just kind of quickly create a web page structure. And notice that everything is fairly boxed. So you can also move things around, make them bigger, make them smaller, and whatever your personal preference is. So once you're ready, and also just one other thing, you can add some colors to it if you want. This is an image placeholder, so you can have text images, rearrange them, resize them as needed. So once you're happy with your website design, then look at everything as its number of blocks that are contained on your page, and that you need to make sure that you can position these items accordingly. So this is a 3-column website with the first column. So it's got the navigation, it's got the header here at the top with the logo, and then it's got 2 columns here basically. So another one that's got 4 pieces in here, and then second row here with the search. Then it's got the navigation with the 4 navigation links. It's got the 3-column website, so a column on the left with what looks like a bunch of links. The main content area that has an image, and then it has some text underneath. And then the right side column, and this one is 2 rows, so it's got a row with looks like some links and then some other external links. And it doesn't actually have a footer, so this is something that you might want to add depending again on your design. So it's got a bunch of buttons here, containers, forms, graphics. So it really makes planning out and designing a website fairly easy and quick. And then this way you can save it to your Google Drive and make updates, especially if you're working with a client. This is a really good asset to have. So let's go back into our HTML page. And once we're happy with the design and we know that we've got everything in place, what we can do is now we can save it as, and notice we do have 2 pages. So we're saving this as about.html. And now we just need to make updates. So I should have actually included update title, and also update header. So sometimes you might want to update this header message, depending on if this is a logo. So maybe not. So updating the header to about page, and then the content, and there we go. So we save that, and let's refresh. So now I can go to about, I can go back to home, I can go about, and notice it's the look and feel is the same, although we don't have a whole lot of styling, but we are sharing that gray background, and we're able to go through from one page to the other. And that's the whole idea of when you are creating your website. Make sure you plan it out first. So it's going to save you a lot of trouble of going back and forth, and then you're going to have to adjust and readjust your website, and then also use the commenting in order to be able to make sure that you do address what areas and what content can change and how it can be different on the different pages. So go ahead and set that up, and coming up, we're going to do some more common stuff with HTML.